The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Captain Jakar of the Vrexian Empire gestured dismissively at the human delegation. His 4 eyes gleamed with barely concealed contempt as he addressed the assembled representatives of 200 starfaring civilizations. "The matter is settled," Jakar announced, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into perfect standard. "Humanity lacks the tactical acumen necessary for frontline deployment. They will serve in logistics and support roles. The Vrexian Third Fleet will lead the assault on the Devourer's stronghold." Commander Sarah Chen remained perfectly still in her observer's seat, her expression unreadable. Beside her, Ambassador Williams shifted uncomfortably, clearly ready to mount a diplomatic protest. Sarah placed a hand on his arm, stopping him. "Captain Jakar," Sarah said, her voice calm and measured. "Before you finalize those assignments, I'd like to propose a small wager." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien sounds, chirps, roars, and melodic trills that the translation matrix struggled to process simultaneously. Jakar's sensory tendrils stiffened in what Sarah had learned to recognize as surprise. "A wager?" The Vrexian captain's mandibles clicked in amusement. "How primitive, very well human. What terms do you propose?" Sarah stood, smoothing her uniform. "A tactical simulation. Your best team against mine. If we win, humanity gets frontline deployment and command of the 4th Strike Group. If we lose, we'll accept logistics assignments without protest." Jakar's translator couldn't quite capture the emotion in his response, but Sarah suspected it was something close to predatory glee. The Vrexians had dominated the tactical competitions for the last 3 cycles. Their neural clusters processed battlefield data with frightening efficiency, coordinating fleet movements with mathematical precision. "Accepted," Jakar said. "Tomorrow in the primary simulation arena. My personal tactical squad against..." "Which human team?" His tone dripped with mockery. "Surely not your military academy cadets?" Sarah's lips curved into a slight smile. "Not exactly." 24 hours later, the simulation arena's observation deck was packed. Word of the wager had spread through the station like wildfire. Representatives from dozens of species crowded against the viewing ports, eager to witness humanity's humbling. Jakar arrived with his tactical team, 5 Vrexians whose neural implants gleamed silver against their chitinous skulls. They moved with synchronized precision, already linked into their shared consciousness network. Sarah waited beside 5 humans in civilian clothing. They looked distinctly unimpressive compared to the Vrexians' military bearing. One was elderly, gray-haired and slightly stooped. 2 appeared to be in their 20s, wearing what looked like casual athletic wear. Another was a middle-aged woman with glasses, and the 5th was a lanky teenager who couldn't seem to stand still. Jakar's sensory tendrils quivered with what might have been laughter. "These are your warriors, Commander Chen." "My team," Sarah corrected. "They appear to be civilians, untrained. This is your tactical squad?" Sarah gestured to the quintet. "This is Marcus Webb, retired Marine Colonel and chess grandmaster. Katie Rodriguez, professional esports champion, specializes in real-time strategy games. David Chen, no relation, mathematics PhD and competitive puzzle solver. Jennifer Park, air traffic controller with 15 years coordinating complex traffic patterns. And Tommy Morrison, junior national debate champion." Jakar's translator emitted a sound of confusion. "Sports games? These are not military designations." "No," Sarah agreed pleasantly. "They're not." The simulation parameters loaded into the arena's holographic display, a complex 3-dimensional battlefield with multiple objectives, asteroid fields, and time-sensitive mission goals. The Devourer forces would be controlled by the station's AI, set to its highest difficulty. "Standard rules," the arena's mediator announced. "First team to complete all primary objectives or eliminate the enemy fleet wins. Neural links permitted. External communication allowed." The Vrexians immediately synced their neural clusters, their 5 minds becoming one distributed intelligence. The display showed their thought processes, rapid, efficient, utterly coordinated. Sarah's team huddled together like players before a sports match. She could hear their animated conversation, talking over each other, arguing, gesturing wildly. To any observer, it looked like chaos. The simulation began. The Vrexians moved their fleet with mechanical perfection, executing textbook maneuvers that had been refined over centuries of warfare. Their formations were flawless, their targeting priorities optimal. Every decision flowed from pure mathematical logic. The human team's approach appeared at first to be pandemonium. Their fleet scattered in seemingly random directions. Their communication channel was a constant stream of overlapping voices. Tommy, I need you to argue why we should... Katie's got the micro-movements on those fighters. Jennifer, traffic pattern Echo 97 but rotated. David, run the probability matrix on. Marcus sees the opening. Everyone trust him on this. Where the Vrexians saw the battlefield as a mathematical equation, the humans saw something else entirely. Marcus recognized patterns from thousands of chess games. Sacrifices that looked like mistakes but opened devastating counterattacks. Katie's fingers flew across her controls with muscle memory from countless gaming marathons, executing maneuvers no military manual would recommend, but that worked because they were unexpected. Jennifer coordinated the chaotic fleet movements like civilian aircraft, finding efficiency in apparent disorder. David calculated probabilities in his head faster than some computers, calling out percentage chances that guided split-second decisions. And Tommy challenged every assumption, forcing the team to question their own plans, finding flaws before the enemy could exploit them. Jakar watched with growing confusion as the human fleet seemed to make one tactical error after another, yet somehow stayed in the fight. His team executed perfect maneuvers, but the humans weren't where the mathematics said they should be. Then the tide turned. A mistake in the human formation was actually a feint. A poorly positioned destroyer was bait for a trap. A panicked retreat led the Devourer AI into a killing field that Marcus had been constructing for 5 full minutes while everyone assumed his forces were just running scared. The elderly chess player had been thinking, 15 moves ahead. The Vrexian team recalculated, adjusted, optimized, but they were fighting an enemy that didn't follow the optimal path, because humans had spent millennia learning that the optimal path was often predictable, and the predictable was exploitable. Katie pulled off a maneuver that should have been impossible, threading 3 fighters through a debris field at angles that violated every tactical doctrine. But she'd done the same thing 10,000 times in games, where physics was suggestion and creativity was rewarded. Jennifer coordinated 17 simultaneous ship movements through an asteroid field, treating attack vectors like incoming flights at O'Hare during a storm. Controlled chaos that only looked random to those who couldn't see the pattern. David called out a sequence of targeting priorities that made no mathematical sense until 30 seconds later, when the Devourer fleet moved exactly where he'd predicted, and the trap closed. And Tommy kept them honest, challenging every assumption, making them prove every decision, keeping the team from falling into groupthink. The simulation ended with the Devourer fleet destroyed and all primary objectives completed. The human team finished 43 seconds before the Vrexians. The observation deck was silent. Jakar stared at the results, his neural cluster still processing what had happened. We executed perfectly. The mathematics were optimal. You made demonstrable errors, Sarah smiled. We did, but we made them deliberately. Captain, your team thinks like a computer, and computers are predictable. My team thinks like humans who've spent their lives playing games, solving puzzles and arguing with each other. We don't just calculate the optimal solution. We imagine a dozen impossible ones and pick the one our enemy will never see coming. She gestured to her eclectic team. You asked if they were my warriors. No, Captain. They're better. They're humans who learned to think creatively under pressure in competitions where second place means nothing, where the only rule is win, where innovation beats optimization. Jakar's tendrils drooped in what Sarah recognized as respect. We chose teams based on military training and neural compatibility. We chose based on raw talent and creativity, Sarah countered. You built a machine. We built a team. The Vrexian captain was silent for a long moment. Then his mandibles clicked in a pattern the translator rendered as thoughtful acknowledgement. The 4th strike group is yours, Commander Chen. Perhaps we have underestimated what it means to be human. As the crowd dispersed, Ambassador Williams leaned close to Sarah. Cubs, he whispered. You called them the Cubs? Sarah grinned. What else would you call a group of young challengers who everyone counts out, but who somehow manage to win when it matters most? Besides, she added, watching her unconventional team celebrate with high fives and fist bumps. Every good underdog story needs a team that nobody believes in. That's the most human thing there is.